So, scientists say we are about 60 years away from bringing back the woolly mammoth. I hear those guys are good eating. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ecology Weekly. I'm your host, Ross Fraleigh. That brings us to our topic this week, de-extinction. For those who don't know, this involves using DNA from frozen remains to bring extinct species back to life. The only reason this is possible is due to the CRISPR-Cas9 system. Recently developed, this technology straight out of science fiction allows us to repair DNA breaks and to insert DNA from live species into the genomes of those who went extinct years ago. This has been a topic of debate for good reason. There are many questions about and implications for using this technology. Is there any benefit to bringing these species back? Would they smoke the local ecosystem? Is it ethical to bring these creatures back just to look at? I have with me today 4 experts who will hopefully answer these questions. To get the ball rolling, I have economics expert Dr. Zhang and her assistant Mr. Hota. Welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on de-extinction?
Well, I understand that people are very interested in the idea of bringing back extinct species. Have to say, I would also be excited to actually see living mammals or a saber-toothed tiger. However, the fact is that the techniques we are using, such as the gene editing, to de-extinct those species still have a very long way to go. A lot of money and effort is needed to develop the techniques, do the experiments, and take care of those animals in the lab or wild. So, how much have we spent on bringing back the mammals until now, Mr. Hota?
Well, one company called Colossal has been funded about 15 million US dollars so far, with more coming in, just to de-extinct the woolly mammoth. Not even bringing up the fact of introducing it back to the wild and how long that may take to get it correct.
Yeah, and it is not enough just to bring back one animal to life. I mean, one animal could do nothing. We need a large population with some degree of genetic diversity so that they can reproduce or be sustainable in wild if we don't just want them to stay in a cage. The cost to de-extinct one species may be able to help 8 endangered species, such as tigers, rhinos, and the blue whales. Those incredible creatures, they all need our help. It would be better to spend the money on conserving and saving the existing species that are still living with us. And this could have a faster impact on the environment and ecosystem than trying to de-extinct an animal.
Wow! It seems like economically speaking, this is not a good use of money. That being said, I've seen Greenpeace spend money in worse ways. I've heard mentions around town that de-extinction also isn't ecologically viable. In fact, Dr. Bob Latta at Dalhousie University mentioned to me in passing that these animals would have nowhere to live. To find out, I have Dr. Greg Santangeli on the line to let us know how the environment would vibe with these creatures. So, do you think this is a good idea?
Short answer, no. Long answer, it's complicated, but still, no. People seem to be arguing that bringing back species will help restore environments or fight climate change, which just isn't true. Let's take the mammoths as an example. The leading reason to bring them back, and this is not a joke, is so that they can trample snow in the Arctic. We are actually considering spending years of research and millions of dollars to bring back a species that went extinct millennia ago, then release this foreign thing into a fragile environment on the brink of collapse, just so it can walk on some snow. There is a plethora of better approaches that we can take to save our Arctic ecosystems. So how exactly is this the best option?
So you're saying that the niche for these organisms no longer exists?
Exactly. You see, the conditions that these animals survived and thrived in just no longer exist. They would not be viable in the wild. These animals would suffer from a lack of essential microbiomes or from a lack of behavioral traits which they would have gotten from their parents, which they don't have. These species would have depended on these traits to survive, and the fact that they just aren't there would be extremely detrimental to their health. Also, when we try to bring back a species like this, we're not actually bringing back a mammoth. we're really just recreating some dollar store version of a mammoth, a mimic. The DNA we use to create this animal is not actually a good representation of the original genome. Since the DNA is constantly decaying, we can never really get a good representation of what a mammoth was actually like. This is why scientists use an elephant genome to fill in the missing blanks, and is also why we will most likely end up with a shaggy elephant and not the coveted woolly mammoth. In the end, the DNA just isn't available for this to be a success and has decayed too much. Now, releasing this amalgamation into the wild makes this worse, because now we are putting a completely unknown, lab-grown species that we know nothing about really into an environment as what is essentially an invasive species. I'm not saying it's unreasonable to pursue de-extinction as an area of interest and to learn more about the life history of our planet. I'm just saying that in practice, it's just a bad idea. There's far too much risk to warrant this approach to saving Arctic environments.
I see. But despite these organisms not being viable in the wild, I kind of want to see one of these suckers. I'm sure many listeners wouldn't be opposed to viewing these animals in a zoo under artificial conditions. This, however, raises ethical questions. Calling in now is PhD ethicist Dr. Ken Simi. Welcome to the show. Is recreating these species ethical?
Thank you, Ross, for having me. So, as a utilitarianist, I always have three golden questions. One, what will benefit most of the parties involved, in this case, the consumers and the biota? Two, what duty do we have as scientists to the public and to the animals that will be under our care? They are living, breathing organisms, after all, whose rights must be taken into consideration. And three, de-extinction and any novel science in general is bigger than just the scientific community. How do we get engagement from both the consumers and the research community? So, as per the benefits, there are claims that the environment and the climate will benefit from the revival of these animals, most notably the woolly mammoth and the passenger pigeon. Humans are just excited by novel ideas and sometimes forget that the answer is sometimes right before their eyes. Economically speaking, the cons outweigh the pros. We would be in debt bringing back just one mammoth, anywhere between 10 and 15 million US dollars. Whereas that money would much easily be diverted and spread across different conservation efforts. And two, as scientists, after accumulating knowledge to explain natural phenomena, our duty is to apply that knowledge for the betterment of the society and different parties involved. Much as we use nature for our benefit, it's also important for them to respect it. Like Dr. Greg mentioned, the conditions for the mammoths to thrive are long gone, and so we will not be able to provide a decent quality of life for it, unless we spend another couple of millions paying for a biosphere fit for the mammoths' survival. But this would definitely defeat the purpose, as the mammoth was revived to benefit our environment. Neither the animal nor the environment will benefit from this method. And three, for the engagement, trying to improve our current state build on the efforts already in place to conserve our environment. Community engagement is key, and small roles placed on individuals mounts up to our larger picture. So in summary, we have a plethora of resources at our disposal and a rich environment to apply them to. Focusing on the biota available to us presently, like Dr. Lyra said, is a time-consuming process, and we would save the 20 plus years in this uncertain data that has promised us as an environment-saving solution. It's much more affordable, and resources can be diverted to establishing populations and conservation efforts. There is room for community engagement beyond observation and all the prehistoric creation. In terms of our environment, restoration and conservation ecology rather than de-extinction is the more efficient and ethical way to go.
Well, there you have it. It sounds like de-extinction just isn't the way to go any way you cut it. Economically, environmentally, even ethically, it's all bad news. Thank you guys for coming on. What do you guys out there think? Do you still want to see that big furry guy? or would you rather have the money put somewhere else? Whatever your thoughts are, thanks for listening. Next week, we'll be discussing the effects of interspecific competition on the growth of the common bean. Be sure to tune in. This has been Ecology Weekly with your host, Ross Fraleigh.